Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining us on today's Warrior Chat. I'm Wayne McCullough, and we have a very, very important, and I think you'll find it interesting as well, topic as we talk about the Southern York County School District's comprehensive plan. And we had three wonderful experts today with us to share some information about that plan. But I got to tell you on the onset that here's what I think is unique about this comprehensive plan. Is so often strategic planning, I think, has kind of a bad rap, kind of a bad connotation when you think of it, because I think quite honestly a lot of people, a lot of organizations develop strategic plans, stick them on a bookshelf, and they collect dust for a few years, sometimes 3, 4, 10 years. But I think that's what's unique about the strategic plan that was done here at Southern York County School District, and that's why we want to share it with you, because it is a living, breathing document that helps provide the roadmap for continued success here at Southern York County School District. So thank you so much for being with us. Let me introduce the folks we have with us. First, Dr. Sandy Lamont, who's the superintendent of schools here at Southern York. And again, I don't mind saying, if you haven't met Dr. Lamont, you're missed. First of all, she's a wonderful superintendent, full of energy, full of excitement, celebrates the accomplishments of all of our children as well as our staff member, which really I think is a wonderful attribute to have. But more importantly, just the instructional leader for the school district and an outstanding leader. So Dr. Lamont, it's nice to have you with us today.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here.
Alrighty. Also, Dr. Bob Bryson, who is our assistant superintendent, and I mentioned him as well. Dr. Bryson, a wonderful leader as well, as he works day to day with building principals, primarily assistant principals, to lead instruction that takes place in the school district, as well as many, many other things that happen on a day-to-day basis. But again, a wonderful leader. So thank you, Dr. Bob, for being with us.
Thank you.
And then finally, but not least, Dr. Kim Apkins, who is the Director of Curriculum and Instruction for the school district. And gosh, I know both of us, or all three of us, remember when Dr. Atkins was hired. And you know, it's kind of neat when things, kind of what you felt and what you saw during an interview and what you experienced comes true, and that is that we saw such instructional knowledge in terms of processes and the ability to break down instruction to make it real in the classroom for our teachers and students. And that is what Dr. Atkins does as well as anybody, to make instruction full of life and energy and keep it current and so forth. So thank you, Dr. Atkins.
Thank you.
Okay, let's talk. We'll talk here about the strategic, or the comprehensive plan. Every now and then I probably will say strategic plan. That's what you used to call it, but the new term is a comprehensive plan. So first of all, Dr. Lamont, it was a plan that took a process to develop. Would you explain that process? Because I think the process of including a community is probably as significant as the final outcome.
Absolutely. It was a process. It took a year-long process, and we had multiple resources and stakeholders within the committee. We had community members, we had teachers, we had students, we had board directors, we had our administrators as well, and folks from our operations department, our technology department, as well as even within the community, Southern Regional and business partnerships as well, and really used the entire expertise and the various viewpoints and knowledge from all those individuals to take a look at what are the needs that we really need to focus on to continue to grow as a district.
I know, Dr. Bob, part of the process involved a needs assessment like Dr. Lamont talked about. Can you break down that process of how this thing developed, please?
Yeah, I think the comprehensive plan, as you can imagine, is a pretty significant document as far as the product that comes out. But it was really subcategorized into 4 areas. One was technology, one was safety of our students and building and grounds. The third was curriculum and instruction, and the fourth is special education and the services that we provide students in that area. So really our subgroups from the comprehensive plan committee were split into those 4 categories and chaired by members of our administrative team. So that really any given community member or student had a focus area for that 1 year period of time. And pretty much we met once a month, and at the end of each meeting we'd come back together and summarize what it was that our subcommittees were focused on, so that if there was overlay or discussion that had to happen between committees, it would take place then at the end of those sessions.
Okay. Dr. Atkins, I know you were part of the process and chaired the educational aspect of that. Can you talk about some of the outcomes that specific part of the plan deals with?
Sure. We really looked at increasing student achievement through instruction and curriculum. So we really looked at the plan as a way to help create lessons and help teachers to really pull in instructional strategies. So we looked at things with 21st century learning. We looked at the new state standards. We looked at really pulling in and having our teachers collaborate and work together and really foster and create a solid curriculum. So part of what we did during that part of the plan was really looked at curriculum, but then we also pulled in some of the instructional strategies and looked at the teacher effectiveness and really making sure that when we're going into the classrooms and the teachers are instructing, that they're giving the best job that they can, which we know our teachers do on a daily basis.
Yeah, I know, Dr. Lamont, that's a subject that's dear to you, and you have such a wonderful knowledge of that process of not just putting a plan in place, but then a continual review, look at data to support decision making on a daily, regular basis. Can you tell us a little bit about, okay, now there is a component that deals with teacher effectiveness and student achievement. How do you then take that document and evaluate success and measure success?
Well, I think that actually documenting along the way and looking for evidence of growth and improvement in each of the goals is absolutely critical. So we use a variety of tools, diagnostic assessments with our students, seeking feedback from our teachers, as well as what instruction looks like on a day-to-day basis in the classroom as well. And that really guides us to use as a checkpoint of, are we moving in the right direction based on the initial goal? Do we need to make refinements or make any changes or provide additional resources or different supports as well too, to make sure that, as Dr. Atkins said, that end result is increased student achievement for all learners.
Can you give us some specific examples of successes of moving forward, since we're now almost a year into implementation of the comprehensive plan from your educational standpoint?
Absolutely. Just the focus that teachers have on really making sure that they're really differentiating in the classroom for the needs of our students, making sure that they're hitting the different components that our students are being given hands-on activities, as well as really helping students to get into upper levels of thinking and really focusing in. So we've seen a lot with our teachers with creating lessons, that they're really putting a lot more effort and really trying to ensure that our students are really getting in deep with what we're trying to get them to do.
So often, I'll go to Dr. Lamont first and Dr. Bryson, both of you can give feedback here. We talk about the building principals being the instructional leader in their building. And I'm not so sure most people kind of understand that concept, because if you're me in old school, you don't remember your principal necessarily being the instructional leader. So I think that position alone has transformed to something different, where they're not only just managing the building, but they're really leading instruction in the building. And I mention that because it doesn't happen by accident. The success of every child in an educational classroom just doesn't happen. You know, it's different. I mean, you talk about differentiation, you talk about success of every child. And one of the things that I always find intriguing, not being an educator, is the weekly, the monthly meetings with the building principals, the instructional staff, to talk about what that looks like when it comes out in the classroom, and then what kind of staff development that also takes happens. So I'll go to Dr. Lamont first and then Dr. Bryson.
Absolutely. One of the big pieces, and I'll let Dr. Bryson certainly share the professional development that actually happens within our administrative team as well too, because just as we expect our teachers to understand best practices as instructional leaders, we need to know and understand and embrace them in order to help be able to provide professional development for our teachers in those areas. One of the most important things that our administrators pride themselves in is the only way that you can be monitoring effective instruction is by being in the classrooms each and every day, and then being a support to our teachers to be able to really help them analyze the great practices that they have in place, but then also look at some other additional supports or resources or activities that can be happening to really maximize student learning.
Very good. Dr. Bryson?
Yeah, just to kind of piggyback Dr. Lamont's comments, our staff development is kind of bi-weekly and monthly, depending on what role you play in the district. But everybody that's involved in instructional leadership, whether it be principals, assistant principals, special ed director, us, we all attend a monthly meeting that really is geared around staff development for ourselves. It's not a meeting to talk about programs or to discuss necessarily managerial things in the buildings, but it's completely focused on good practices, good instruction, and how to lead that good instruction district-wide. So I think that's really helped us with consistency from the 5 buildings and consistency with when an administrator is new or is leaving. We're able to use that to really mentor that new administrator into our program. Likewise, they're not the only meetings that are instructional based. Both Kim and I also conduct staff development where we may get the elementary principals together, which Kim does on a bi-weekly basis, or secondary principals, where now we hone in on ideas and challenges that are more specific to them in their areas of expertise. So I think that there's ongoing staff development, and even to the point of one-on-one. So monthly I meet with every principal to talk about what's happening in their building and what resources or challenges they're faced with and how we can support that as a district. So
yeah, here's what I think every member of our community can and should be proud of. Under the leadership of these 3 people on a daily basis, you've heard me say it before, but we used to expect to be average, and we are average. But we've transformed as a school district to be an educational leader, not only in York County, but throughout the state. And we expect to be a leader every day. And that transformation I've witnessed from being a student here to working here, and it's tremendous. I mean, it's absolutely powerful. Comes with challenges, because now we're not only sustaining being an educational leader, we're still looking to move forward. So Dr. Lamont, from a leadership perspective, how does that continue? How do you not only sustain but move forward from a strategic, comprehensive view?
Well, in multiple ways, Wayne. First of all, as it's ongoing learning, and it's a belief, a set of values that we won't accept anything but the best and be able to provide the best, because our students deserve nothing but that. Yeah. We, each and every person, any person that you speak to within Southern York County, regardless of their role and responsibility, is fully invested in providing the best possible learning environment for our students. So when they leave us, they're prepared to do whatever they choose to do in regard to their strengths and talents.
Okay, well stated. One of the major components then in review of the comprehensive plan is an education curriculum focus, and you can actually go to our district's website at www.syc.org and go under the link of plans and budgets, and you'll see the comprehensive plan. It's quite a document, so you can find out some more details, and certainly if you have any questions, contact any Dr. Lamont, Dr. Bryson, Dr. Atkins, and certainly help you. Another very important component, Dr. Bryson, was technology, is how to infuse technology into the educational program. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I think probably the most interesting thing about the technology committee's work is we didn't end up with a product that says, here's the kind of devices that we want to put into the classroom. Because really that needs to come from the educators themselves and the students themselves. So a lot of the work from that committee over the course of the year was about how to put processes in place that allow one end of the organization to be speaking with the other end of the organization and do so seamlessly, and how to do that quickly, because the field of technology is changing daily. So some of our old processes and how we operated and how we communicated from the classroom to the technology department weren't meeting the needs of that classroom teacher. So I think we've come a long way in improving that communication, which will help us make, I think, better educated decisions on what resources are needed to support the students.
I know another major component was special education. That was directed and composed under the leadership of Mr. Brendan Rogers, who is our special education director. Dr. Demond, can you give us, some of the components and what the vision of special education is here at Southern York County?
Well, certainly it is. We know that all of our students, there's a wide range of needs for all of our students, whether it's support that they need through enrichment. And we certainly look at the whole area of providing specialized instruction in an individualized way. And we want our teachers, our special education teachers, they're working collaboratively, they're working in a co-teaching manner as much as they possibly can, so that all of our students, regardless of their needs, regardless of what their individualized education plan says, that those needs are able to be met within the classroom at content, grade level, expected standards, so that our students have all the skills that they needed before they leave one grade level and enter another grade level.
I'm always interested from a curriculum standpoint, is infusing or integrating, special needs children into classroom settings, and a teacher differentiating with curriculum for every child. Can you explain that process a little bit, please, Dr. Atkins?
Yes, the teachers actually, they take a lesson and they build the lesson so that they meet the needs of many different children in the classroom. So they'll incorporate things such as differentiating to be hands-on for some kids. It may be scaffold learning, and scaffold, by that I mean that there might be a more challenging project for a couple of kids, whereas other kids are learning and working with one another to really kind of learn through. So we're really looking at learning styles, and we're helping students to pick up on concepts and standards through varying our lessons so that we're meeting all the needs of the kids in the classroom.
I know, Dr. Bryson, we hear you talk so often about how education has changed, and I can assure you it's not business as normal, it's not education as normal, but I get some goosebumps when I hear you passionately talk about what education should and could and does look like. Maybe give a little brief there of what that vision is.
Isn't that another where chat?
Maybe, yeah, but good segue to it.
No, I appreciate the opportunity anytime that we're given the opportunity to share what our vision is. I think we need to take advantage of that and help people understand why we are excited about what's happening here at Southern, but probably what's happening in education as a whole. The general principle is that our old version of education was modeled after an industrial age, and you can envision that factory style worker sitting in rows of desks, and as you close your eyes and think about what your educational experience was, let's say in high school, typically most of us think we were in rows listening to the teacher give a lecture and then give us a series of problems or a paper to write, and we did it, and then we came back and we did it again the next day. And I think that's just evolved to thinking about things more on the basis of an individual, as Dr. Adkins just pointed out. And it's not just those students that are identified with special needs, but it's all of us have different learning styles and different needs. and we grow at different different paces, different levels. So it's really customizing the education for the individual as much as we can in a system that's still responsible to educate every child and ensure every child grows. So it's difficult to do that if we're still operating from that industrial style, which was very efficient at creating citizens that were ready to go in the industrial world. The problem is the world has changed, and we're playing catch up on preparing kids.
Now I'll just back up one small step. Talked about a major component of the comprehensive plan that you led the group in was technology. So how does technology then work to support or facilitate or whatever it does with that new vision of education?
Yeah, I think again, a myth with that is students sit in front of a computer screen and the computer teaches them everything that a teacher once taught them. And really that's kind of an industrial model. It just happens to be a computer screen versus the teacher in the front of the room. What truly technology provides is the opportunity for kids to collaborate and not be right here together at this particular time. They can collaborate outside of school on documents, on communication, so that when we do have them here, we are using that as time where we collaborate face to face. It also gives us the ability to differentiate for a child's different needs. So while this student might learn this on a computer much better than they would by hearing it from the teacher or doing it one-on-one, that gives us the opportunity to actually take them at maybe a higher speed, or it may provide us the opportunity to give them a virtual experience that they wouldn't get in a classroom or would be too expensive to take every child on a field trip.
Right.
They can use that technology to experience it differently. But it's really created an environment that's diverse and gives us a tool to allow students to grow at their pace, and also kind of breaks down the walls of that school and opens up their education at 24/7.
Yeah, and then the final component of the comprehensive plan dealt with safety and security in our schools. I know, Dr. Lamont, that's our highest priority.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we're continually assessing the needs of our buildings, of our grounds, of our procedures, and making sure that we are able to have the resources needed in each of our buildings, but also have procedures in place so that our students, our staff, our community is safe when they're here in our buildings and on our grounds.
Yeah. The comprehensive plan was a year-long plus process involving a wide variety of stakeholders in the community. I think overall good process. Would you agree?
It was. It was absolutely. It allowed us to really take a look at what are our needs and where did we need to make some changes and some refinements. But you can't do that alone. You need to do it with a whole collective group of people bringing different ideas and different areas of expertise, and we were able to accomplish that.
Yeah. And again, I think one of the wonderful leadership attributes I know of Dr. Lamont, but Dr. Bryson, Dr. Atkins share that as well, is recognizing probably the first step, but more importantly, having the leadership ability to implement that notion that it does take a community to not only sustain what we have, but continue to move forward from an educational process. And again, just because of experience tells me that's not easy, and it doesn't happen by accident, and it only happens by excellent leadership. So thank you so much. We would be remiss to say we're also very fortunate to have wonderful leadership of our school board, and some of those members were involved as well. Dr. Lamont.
Absolutely, absolutely. And certainly everyone, all of our board directors were more than willing to become a part of the process. A huge thank you for this time, because before we know it, we'll be on to the next phase. And I know Dr. Bryson will seek the expertise of other directors as well too. But a huge thank you to Allie Waldron, who served on the technology portion of the comprehensive plan, and also Mrs. Jerry Gronke, who served on the curriculum and assessment piece with her educational background.
Okay.
So huge thank you to both of them.
Yep. And we want to thank you as a community. We know and we don't take for granted ever that education doesn't come without your commitment, both from a supportive standpoint. And I've often said that Southern York County, the people of Southern York County, support good education. They always have. I believe they always will. And they even know what it looks like and feels like, which I think makes it a wonderful community. But beyond that, we also know the financial commitment that it takes from a community to provide an outstanding education for our children. We thank you very much for that. And again, we take that responsibility very, very seriously to be outstanding stewards of every dollar that you provide for us, so we can have a good plan and a good educational program for our children. Dr. Naman, the final thing, and your final statement, though. Obviously, all this is important, but more important is the overall mission of the school district is certainly the educational component for the children, and what we can do from a technology standpoint in providing the needs for all children as well as a safe environment. But most importantly is we do look at the whole child as well when the student walks in the doors here at Southern York County.
Absolutely, and we do. We know that academics is extremely important, but we also know that our students have many, many wonderful strengths, and they're in the areas of the arts, of music, of clubs, of service work, of our athletics. So we really are very fortunate that we know that all of that develops just wonderful character for our students.
Yep, we have a lot to be proud of, and thank you so much for all you do. So, again, I'm very proud and want to thank three outstanding leaders that we have here today: our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Sandy Lamont, our Assistant Superintendent, Dr. Bob Bryson, and our Director of Curriculum and Instruction, Dr. Kim Apkins. So thank you. We appreciate all you do every day and your leadership, so thank you. So for Mr. Mark Rill, our Coordinator of Marketing and Public Information, I'm Wayne McCullough saying we'll see you next time.